I've been skeptical about mobile photography for a while now, and I never thought it would catch up to actual camera setups. But I was wrong. Imagine a small phone rocking a 50 megapixel marvel and a tiny camera co-designed with Hasselblad. This is also the first time the world is seeing a flip phone with 3 cameras, and innovating something like this is no easy feat. Packing this much power into a flip phone is unheard of until the release of this. With flexible ease of use, a powerful 3-camera system, high megapixel count, and RAW capabilities, this flip phone can easily turn your photos into movie stills. This is the OPPO Find N3 Flip. 大家好, kumusta? My name is Victor, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about how powerful the camera is on this phone and share my overall user experience as a consumer, photographer, and filmmaker using this phone. This is my first OPPO phone and my very first smart flip phone. I have friends and family that use smart flip phones, and I thought it was just a gimmick to bring back flip phones. However, after using the OPPO Find N3 Flip for a few months, my perspective has changed. So let's talk about the co-designed Hasselblad camera on this phone and its nostalgic design and features. The Find N3 Flip offers a lot of useful camera modes. You have your typical ones, but the Pro mode and the XPan mode both stood out to me. The main camera on this phone features a 50 megapixel 1/1.5 inch sensor with a 24mm full frame equivalent and an aperture of f1.8. This is the main reason why we can get such high quality cinematic photos with this phone, because the RAW is definitely flexible, similar to the RAWs from my Sony cameras. I can easily edit the RAW photo to my desired look. I've also shot the wide angle in the telephoto RAWs, and they also did not disappoint. Despite having less megapixels from the 50 megapixel main camera, they still provide great detail from the wide angle and the telephoto lenses. Even in low light conditions, we were still able to achieve that cinematic look, making it resemble scenes from a movie. Speaking of which, the XPan mode is one of the biggest reasons for that. Even if the XPan mode only shoots in JPEG, I can still adjust the colors to emulate that film look. The aspect ratio is so wide, it reminds me of filming with anamorphic lenses, kind of like what you see in this video. It's a wide aspect ratio, and it kind of gives you a cinematic look because this is what we see in theaters. Most movies are shot in anamorphic, and that when we see them on the silver screen, it's wide. Since the camera on this phone is co-designed by Hasselblad, the XPan mode pays homage to the great XPan cameras. They are film cameras from Hasselblad, and they shoot in super wide aspect ratios. I think what makes this flip phone special is that it's able to bring that XPan shooting mode or shooting experience to life. So let's talk about the other photography experience with this camera, the consumer side of things. Now, if you're used to taking selfies with the front camera, this is a different ballgame, because now you can use the 3 main cameras, the rear cameras, and you can just take a selfie with it with the help of the front screen. I really never liked taking selfies to begin with, but starting with this flip phone and the front screen, it just changed the game for me. This is actually so much fun compared to seeing the low quality selfies from a front facing camera. Now that you can use the wide angle mode, the normal mode, the 1x camera with the front screen and take a selfie with it, it's actually so much fun. Another great thing that I didn't realize until I got my hands on a flip smartphone is that it has the ability to stand on its own. So you can just take photos like this, and you can angle it up or angle it down, and you can place it on a platform or a surface, this thing is called Flexform, and that it's actually super useful because it essentially gives you a tripod, because you can just lay it down like this and you can have a group photo without having anyone bring a tripod. You can just place it on a ledge, you can place it on any surface, even on the ground if you really wanted to, and it takes a photo for you. And you would think this is especially for self-timed photos, but the application extends to actual photography needs, because since we don't need a tripod anymore, we can use this as a leverage to shoot long exposure shots, or even those nighttime shots when we need to lower down the shutter speed, and that now we have the ability to do long exposure shots with just the phone, and for those night shots that require a little bit longer exposures for your photos. So one more cool thing about the Flexform in terms of photography, once you kind of open it up, when you have a full-size camera like this, what you can do is just flip it and the whole screen flips up, and that you now have the controls on the bottom. You can even switch it if you really wanted to, just in case you're doing some lookup shots and that you want to see kind of like buildings and you're shooting the wide angle skyscrapers. This is especially useful for that. And I think this is the most fun way to shoot videos with a smartphone, because it has this camcorder mode where you can just film like this, similar to what we were used to with the handy cams or the camcorders back in the day, and that you can actually see that the screen is just on one of the sides, and then you have the controls on one side as well. Again, this is the modern age camcorder, and it just, I don't know, it's very nostalgic, because when I was young, my dad would always record with a camcorder, and sometimes I would like steal it and kind of just shoot and kind of just film whatever. And I guess that's why I got into the filmmaking industry, because of my experience when I was a kid. I don't know. We all had fun with the dad cams. I think overall it's just a nostalgic throwback to those memorable home videos. Now, having used the cameras on this phone for about 3 months now, and that's me explicitly not bringing my actual cameras, I think OPPO really did deliver such a powerful package in a flip phone. The results that I got, especially with the first few batches of photos that I was editing, I was shocked that I was able to pull off the kind of quality that I would get from my dedicated camera setups. I can easily say that my skepticism about mobile photography is practically gone now. And since we now have this, I can only imagine the next iterations of camera phones in the next little while. I know the flagship models have like a bigger sensor and a better lens system, a camera system. And this is just one of the innovative marvels that OPPO has done, the first smartphone with 3-camera system. I mean, I'm excited for what's to come in the future. Tech is becoming so good that everything that we need might be accessible with a phone. And video now too is catching up. Like, I just can't wait for the next iterations of mobile phones for photography and filmmaking. It's going to be a game changer in the next little while. I want to touch on the build quality and the product design of this one, since this is a phone and we're not just buying this for its camera. Let's talk about kind of like my experience in the first 3 months of using this OPPO phone. And honestly, I've never had so much fun with a smartphone. Like, I'm so used to Apple or like the flat phones, like the ones that we have normally. And I usually jump from Apple to an Android device, Apple again, Android device. And I have a pattern. I don't know why, because I always like to check the different tech that's available on the other side of the market. So I'm neither an Apple fan or an Android fan. I'm a tech fanatic. So both sides have their pros and cons, but so far the most fun I've had is with this smartphone, with the flip phone. I was able to adapt quickly and I got used to the buttons and the layouts, the shortcuts. It's very similar to what everyone's doing nowadays and it's fun. The screen is good, has high frame rates when I'm playing video games. It's got good audio. I mean, what else can you ask for a phone? You've got a really good versatility with this phone, portability with the flip, and a powerful 3-camera system. I particularly like its portability because it's just a little bit bigger than my palms and that I can fit this easily or have more space in my EDC bag by using this phone. They also have implemented a hinge system where it allows the phone to fold perfectly straight. And while we're talking about the fold, the center fold on this phone is barely noticeable when you're using it. Now, as you can see in this demo, you can only see the fold when you shine a light in a very particular angle. OPPO made this center fold so seamless that even viewing it in multiple angles, you barely see that the fold is there. The flip design is also so nostalgic because it's like my calling to going back to flip phones, similar to what we had in junior high. Now, if you're wondering about battery life, this phone lasts about a day and a half. That is using it as a GPS, using it for socials, connecting with people, taking raw photos and videos throughout the day, and also a side of gaming. Obviously, if I'm gaming for a long time, it only survives for a few hours. I think at one point when I had a lazy day, I was playing Teamfight Tactics on this phone for about 3 to 4 hours, and I think it drained the battery from 100% to maybe around 30-20%, and that's on high frame rate as well. I think it was set on 60 frames per second, and it has a game booster mode as well. So it's a fun little addition because I like to game on my spare time, and compared to my Apple phone, I think it's stuck on 30 frames per second. As a gaming enthusiast, high frame rates is actually way better experience, especially for those fast-paced action that we look for in games. Now, for the charging capabilities is that this has a 44-watt Super VOOC flash charge. That means that this phone can charge from 0 to 50% in only about 20 to 23 minutes. That's fast. Now, overall, I think OPPO gave us a great alternative to dedicated camera setups. Especially for those days that we want to travel light, this is the phone to bring. You've got 3 lenses, high megapixel count, and flexible RAW files to get the shots that you need. Everything that you need on a smartphone, flip phone, whatever camera that you want for travels is already included in the OPPO Find N3 Flip. Now, if you have any more questions about this phone, let's chat about it in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.